You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Jonna Summers.
Hi.
So, Jonna, tell me a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
Well, I have a day job, which is very boring.
Most,
So
most
I
day
actually,
jobs are.
huh?
I said most day jobs are for sure.
Exactly. So I prefer to talk about my fun job, and that I own a professional haunted attraction called Banshee Manor. And of course, this time of year, we are in full swing of getting everything ready, getting all the costumes and props and everything ready. And so that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's really, really cool. And then I also, I don't make any money on it, but I did a podcast called Buying Ghost. It's an actual full cast audio drama. And it is about a family who the lead of it is Annie, and she talks her husband into buying this old Victorian home that is rumored to be haunted because she wants to turn it into a bed and breakfast, and she wants to capitalize on the whole supernatural crowd, people who are ghost hunters and paranormals, activists, and who want to come and check out this house. Unfortunately, once they get in there, they find out that it is actually haunted, and her family kind of have to figure out how to deal with it.
So
So that's a lot of fun.
you run a haunted house attraction.
Correct. It's actually, we partner with a local family fun park, and we take over a portion of their building and location. And it's, like I said, it's called Banshee Manor, and it's a very story-driven haunted attraction. So it's a little bit different than most of them.
How'd you decide to dive into this?
Oh man, I've always loved Halloween. I've always loved scary movies and scary books. And um, whenever I was a kid, my sister's boyfriend, now husband of 40 years. And yes, I'm old, so I'm not your typical old lady.
You've,
But
you've you've had some experience, so that's good.
yeah, I mean, I fell in love with haunted attractions as a kid. I've also done community theater, some acting, some improv. I work with a local murder mystery group. And this is just perfect for me because it combines my love of Halloween and all of the creativity that goes into that, as well as the business side of my brain, and the logistics and financial and the marketing and everything else. So it's, for me, it's the perfect marriage between two different worlds. And about 10 years ago, I was like, this dream's been hopping around in my brain for, a long time. Like I said, I'm old. And, kids are grown and gone and everything. And I was like, why not do it now?
Yeah.
And
What's your
so
belief
it
on
happened.
what's your belief on ghosts or hauntings? Do you believe that type of thing's real?
I've actually had some experiences myself. So yes, I do believe it is real.
What types of experiences have you had?
About 20 years ago, I was doing a play, and we were doing rehearsal in this building because we couldn't move into our actual the theater for a couple of weeks because they had other things going on. So we were doing our rehearsals off site, and there was a couple of weird things that happened, but we just kind of we're just being silly, and things like that. The last night before we got ready to, it was our last night in that building before we moved into the theater, and we were leaving, and there were several of us that had already come outside of the house. We're standing there talking, and the director was closing the building up. It was a house that's also used for meetings and stuff. For anyhow, that's a long story itself. But anyway, I noticed something that passed by the window in the second story, and it was almost like a light or something. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd. And I turned around to see, is there like a car coming? something that would explain that light that I saw. And there was nothing. And I turned back and I'm looking at that window again, and I saw something, and it wasn't just a light. I saw something, like almost a figure, go past that window. And just as I was about to say something, one of the other girls saw it too and started screaming. And we're like, what the heck?
Yeah, for me,
What was that?
I try and be as open-minded as possible. Kind of listening a little bit more from history and just people's experiences with people. I've talked to multiple people that believe in supernatural, paranormal. Have a couple people that do podcasts on it.
Mhm.
I I I've had a fair share of things I can't explain, whether it was like a drink or something. Like, I remember one time my mom chalked this up to a ghost. Was a concept of, like, I had a drink on a table and it was standing straight up and down, and it was full, and it just randomly, like, we had candles lit in our house near some drapes at the time. And it randomly, like, my mom was asleep, I was asleep, we're both but kind of fell asleep watching a movie on, like, two separate couches. And this drink just fell and splashed me in the face. And I woke up and saw that the drapes, like, immediately my eyes pointed up and I saw the drapes were about to be lit on fire by these candles.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa. And then, like, I woke her up, told her about it. I was young, and she blew them out, and then, like, kind of like talked to me like that was the spirit telling, like, woke us up, made sure we were safe. Like, she talked to some family member, and I was like, okay, all right, whatever, But I used to tell her all the time when I was a kid. She used to work at this hotel. It was called the Atlantic Hotel in a small town that I live in, Berlin, Maryland. And it it was a little bit old, kind of like it was an old style hotel built in like the 1876
Mhm,
or something of that sort. It's back in the
mhm,
day. And I was sick home from school, like first, second grade, and my mom just took me into work with her. So she'd be working downstairs in the restaurant, and it was a hotel, so I could go up in one of the rooms, lie down, watch Scooby Doo, whatever. And
mhm.
these times when, like, I was like either sick, and faking it, or I was just actually sick, I was kind of just laying down in bed, kind of sleeping and trying to gather my head in a way because usually I had headaches. And I always met this nurse, and when I met a nurse, it was a housekeeper, like,
Mhm.
dressed in the old style attire, which I figured that's what they did. It was kind of an old style hotel. It's kind of what the housekeepers would dress like. And
Right.
I would talk to this woman. She'd always be really nice. It was like an African woman. And I would just be like, yeah, thank you. And I never got her name. And I remember I walked downstairs, and as I was walking down the steps, I told my mom about this woman because my mom was always at the bottom of the steps to greet the people or bring them into the restaurant. And I told her, I was like, I just met this really nice woman upstairs. She was asking me if I needed anything, if I, needed anyone to talk to. And then I would say that my mom just looked at me, like, with a weird face, like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what? And, like, I didn't understand it until I got older. Like, she was like, you were seeing some stuff. Like, my mom believes in that
Mhm.
stuff. I do too, a little bit, when it comes to, I'm open minded to everything. Um, but she was like, there's no person that dresses in that attire here. We all dress in modern uniforms. We wear either, like, it's like a black shirt, black pants, but there's no woman wearing a blue maid's dress or anything of this
Mhm.
sort. I was like, oh, whatever. Okay. I thought she was just fooling around with me. And kind of, like, looking back at people telling me their stories and stuff, I'm like, maybe I might have came in contact with something. Do I 100% believe it? No, because I was a child, and I've known, kids are also known to have auditory hallucinations and, like, hallucinogens with their eyes when it comes to, like, sleep, seeing shadowy figures in the distance, like when you're sleeping in an all dark room or something. And I always try and people, like, you have to be skeptical when it comes to these types of things, you know?
I do believe that there are people who are more prone to see things than other people. I think there's people who, sensitivity, mediums, whatever you want to call it. I feel like there are people that have a certain energy that attracts this more than others because I have witnessed, I had another instance, just about 6 years ago. And this was a location that had been investigated. It was actually on Ghost Adventurers, where they came in and did an investigation and everything. and there were all kinds of documentation of things happening. But I was with the gentleman who had leased this property, and I started hearing a baby crying. And he said, and then he started hearing it, and he said that he, in all of the times he had been in there, and all of the voices and all of the experiences he had had, he said that was the first time that there was a baby crying. And in talking to other people, it was kind of felt that um, something about me being a mother attracted that particular spirit.
Yeah, like a lost
And
child.
yeah, and that's why I basically brought that spirit forward, not intentionally by any means, because I would never go seeking that. I'm not into Ouija boards and things like that. I think that's, you're kind of um, playing with some bad things.
Even though they sell it in Toys R Us, you just have
Yeah, well,
$8
yeah.
in the
When
buck.
every 6-year-old wants a demon, hey.
Well, if you
Um,
want to know my experience on this, I've podcasted with people that have these types of like psychic abilities and these types
mhm,
of things. Now, do I say that that's real? I don't know. But I can tell you that on my mom's side, my mom's 100% belief for it, only on the concept of, it's going to sound really, really far-fetched, but my grandmom has been known to kind of apparently talk to spirits in a way.
oh
And
wow.
my mom's like, there was a girl that went missing around the time I was 12 years old, and she was all over the news, and my mom had a dream about her. And my dad's not any type of like person that believes in any of this type of stuff. So watching him like talk to my mom, and then my mom being like, I need you to call this location in, and to the cops and say it's anonymous, and then hang up. And my dad was like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm just going to do it so you'll shut up. So
Mhm.
my dad did it, and they found the girl. And
Wow.
my mom was like, I had a dream, and she told me that's where her body was, to help her parents find her body. And I heard that, and I was like, what? Like, is this some type of, like, you watch a lot of Ghost Whisperer. Like, I know you're in a
Mhm.
belief in that show. And she was like, there's a lot you don't understand. And I used to get deja vu a lot. It's very common with children. It stops usually at an age, but it tend to link to psychic ability when it comes to clairvoyance and these types of things that help you see kind of a prediction into the future, usually of things that are meant to be a danger or meant to be a glimpse of something you might need to avoid. And
Right.
I still was getting them even at the age I'm at now. I'll get them kind of on occasion. And she kind of talked to me. I feel it was like almost a year ago about it. And this is where I was like, I don't know what to believe. Like, that's why I tried. She knows I'm a skeptic on a lot of things. Like, I try and be as open minded as possible, and not to like people are going to hear this and be like, oh, well, you're just crazy. I'm like, no, I definitely think there's some stuff you can't explain. I always chalk it up to the theory that it's like a radio frequency. Like, there's channels on a radio. I believe some people are in tune to a different channel, whether if they're just in more of a connection, like empath. That's what
Right.
that's what my mom calls me. She says
Mhm.
you're an empath, which is really, really apparently weird, because if you're an empath and you're a guy, it's very, very a rare trait, because it's seen as more of a feminine thing.
Yes, it is.
So immediately she tells me that, I told her, I was like, what, you call me a chick? Like, joking around. But like, I bring into the concept of like, she talked to the guy that developed the show Ghost Whisperer, who's in 100% belief of all these types of things. And he actually has wrote books on it.
Mhm.
Um, and before my mom could even like, she talked to him, met him in person, and was like, I want to ask you a question about my son. And before she even said my like name, the guy goes, is his name Robbie? And my mom's like, yeah, how'd you know? And he goes, he's going to be a powerful psychic one day. And now my mom told me that. I'm like, what, am I going to be like a superhero, like a ex-mutant, like all this type of joking around stuff? But it really hit me on the concept of, I had this really crazy ass dream where I saw this dude laying near a ravine, like a canal type thing. And I was
Mhm.
like, it woke me up, and I was like, oh, whoa, like that's one that hits the books. And I walked downstairs, and I'm like, I just had this weird ass dream about this dude that was like, and I gave a description. I didn't know his name, didn't know
Mhm.
anything about him. I just gave a description, and my mom's like, do me one favor. She pulls up a picture on her phone. Is this the guy? I said, yeah, that's the dude. She goes, he's missing right now. Can you tell me exactly where you saw this? And I said, I don't know. It was near a channel, near a canal. I don't know. I could not tell you. She's like, I need you to try very hard. And I was like, man, I'm trying to eat my fucking Raisin Bran right now. I'm like, I don't know. There's water. It's not like a giant lake or thing, but it's like a little canal, like a little, like if you were going to fall in a gutter and there was a severe flood in the gutter. And she goes, okay, thank you. And I said that. And then not even like a couple days later, they found the guy. And I was like,
Wow. And was he in? Was
yeah,
he in
it
some
was
kind of canal?
yeah, like
That's pretty
a marsh
creepy.
type thing. And I said that, and she was like, you're not gonna understand it, especially you don't believe in it, But there's something. It skipped a generation when it came to your brother, but I think you hit it pretty on the nail on the head because she talks about like there's a reason why you get up at 1 o'clock in the morning. There's a reason why you go to the grocery store at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not because you're insane. It's because you don't function around normal people. And I said, what is that supposed to mean? Like, I'm just a weirdo? And she goes, no. She goes, you get energies from people. And
Yeah.
sadly, the dominant energy that gets displayed in society nowadays is negative. It's a
Mhm.
fake thing. She goes, that's why you're really good at reading people. And I was like, what do you mean by that? She goes, you could tell someone's true intentions just by walking by them. And I was like, is this the movie Unbreakable? Am I Bruce Willis? And she goes, no.
Was
She goes,
it?
but that's a thing. It's known as empathy. It's a connection to the energies around you. And I started hearing that. I'm like, okay. And then I talked to my cousin who's studied everything in philosophy, read every single religious book, the Quran, all that type of stuff. And he says it's there's a link somewhere in a connection with people where it's just you like for me, I chalk it up to the experience of when someone has a bad or a wet towel personality. When they have that wet towel personality, they're like, hey, how's your day going? And they're just like, it's okay, but like this bland
An
attitude where,
energy vampire.
yeah, we're literally afterwards, you're like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm
I was in
so
a good mood until I talked to you, type thing.
and it's like you find out about that, and I took psychology classes, so I'm fascinated with how the brain works. Now, I would watch one of these things in the morning, and being what she considers an empath, I would immediately watch this at 5 o'clock in the morning, watch some kid struggle with some disease he doesn't understand, like schizophrenia, and I would immediately be thrown into a mood for the rest of the day where I was like, I'm just gonna crawl into bed, nobody talk to
Mhm.
me. And she was like, you gotta try and block out that stuff. You gotta learn to cope with it. And I'm like, it's so damn difficult when I can literally sense my fucking neighbor that's sleeping in his house if he's having a bad day or not. Not even by talking to him, just by fucking sitting here. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is why I'm an insomniac. Like I like being up at odd hours. And I started finding that with people I started podcasting with that belief in psychic abilities. One woman told me that she delivers newspapers, and she talks about how like she believes it 100% on the concept, like she believes that everyone has this ability but it lies dormant inside of them. She believes that it just takes certain people to tap into it. She says more people are like kind of oblivious of it, whether it takes an experience or some type of thing to kind of awaken it out of them. But she thinks it was going to be like more and more people nowadays are going to come out with this ability because of the sense of um kind of, I don't know, it was some type of disconnect. And I told her, I was like, you're also in belief of these stuff and you surround yourself with individuals that have these types of reported abilities, so that would make it seem like more people are going to be the dominant. But I think, like, I chalk it up to a radio frequency. We're on some
Mhm.
different levels. Some people see some shit. There's a thing known like people can see on a spiritual plane. There's things that are known as like a person can see, like music, can see it, like the actual vibrations in the air. Like right
Mhm.
now as I'm talking to you, there's a signal coming from my cell phone beaming up into the sky.
Right.
Okay, it's invisible, so if I held my hand over top of my phone, the signal is going through my hand right now up into the sky. I can't see that. It's on a whole nother level. That's what I'm saying. There's people that can see onto that other fucking level.
Yeah, I think there's definitely people who also, let's say, okay, we have right in my backyard is the Crescent Hotel, which is one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. It's literally like a 40-minute drive from my house. And I know a lot of people all through my life going there. And there are some people that, whether they have any psychic ability, we'll just call it that, or any empathic ability or whatever, they go there because they're psyched up. They want to feel something. They want to hear something. And so of course they do. But I also know people who are skeptics who are like, nah, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. This is all BS and everything. And they go through and they have experiences. So you've got two extremes, people who want to have an experience and people who don't want to have an experience, and yet they're both having experiences. So there's got to be something to that. You know what I mean?
Throughout history, we had stuff like the Salem witch trials, and there's things known as Wiccans, warlocks, whatever you want to call them. And
Right.
I chalk it up to the idea like mysticism, conjuration, all these types of old school witchcraft type things. This has been known throughout history as something that, this isn't new. This isn't something like Alexa, all this type of stuff. Like, this isn't new information being processed. This is old school folklore type, ancient history type stuff that's been known, wizards, all this type of thing. It's not something off World of Warcraft. It's something that's been throughout our history and has been known, whether it's been seen as a ploy like the Salem witch trials. A lot of those people weren't witches, obviously. I think it was an easy way for the husband just to get rid of somebody that was nagging. But like, you hear stuff of this sort, it's like, is it off? Or maybe it's the storyteller effect, the fact that like maybe Jesus didn't walk on water, maybe he was standing in a shallow bit of water. You know what I mean? You have to take it in strides, take it in understanding, maybe realize that it's been told for so long and kind of been crafted in a new way that it's not what it is being told to you now. It's probably something a little bit less, but it still could have been real.
Don't you find it interesting that even with today's technology and all the advances in science, that there's still so many things that we don't understand?
Yeah, and not even the things that we don't understand. We're exploring space right now when we haven't even explored the full capacity of Earth. Not even Earth, we don't even know the full capacity to what our government's doing, and not even the government. What about our brain? There's so much we don't understand about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to have skeptics either way. I think personally, I believe there is some truth to the paranormal. I think there are people who are more susceptible to that and not. Um, and I think I've seen people who have absolutely no belief in it have experiences, and so that that's not something that they're just building up in their brain. That they're just kind of psyching themselves out. So of course they're seeing something. I think there's a lot to paranormal activity, and like I said, I've had several experiences myself. But I like to do the fake stuff. But even in my haunted attraction, I have some Latin sayings. I have some Gaelic sayings in different places, and that's because it's a medieval themed castle haunted attraction. But if someone was to translate all of that, it's all positive, just because I don't want to bring that negativity. So,
Some places go to an extent to try and create like real bad words and chants, like real old school type stuff without knowing the full repercussions of it. That's where you see a horror movie that takes like a twist turn, everybody ends up murdered.
Oh yeah. So like last year I had an area where I had a lot of Viking runes, written on the walls and stuff. And at first glance it looks very ominous and gives a kind of a creepy feeling of like, is this kind of witchcraft or what is this? But like I said, if you look at each one of those and you translate it, one that looks pretty scary actually means strength. and another one means warrior, and another one, is health. Just because I don't want that bad juju.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people like they're afraid to talk about the bad stuff, or they're either 100% distrusted of the bad stuff, like no Ouija boards, none of that stuff. That's bad
Uh-huh.
voodoo, bad witchcraft, or
Right.
they're the skeptical, like I don't believe in that, and they go and do it, and then something happens usually. But everyone believes in good luck, but no one believes in bad luck 100%.
Oh, you've got to. I mean,
If you believe in
that's
good luck,
that's
you
like not
gotta.
to get not to get too religious, but it's like the people who they believe in the devil, but they don't believe in God. You have to believe in one doesn't exist without the other.
Yeah, there has to
Does
be a
that make
good and a
sense?
bad.
There has to be a good and a bad. There has to be a yin and a yang.
Yeah. It's really, really strange to me how so many people will be like, "Oh, it's good luck if you find a four-leaf clover," and I'm like, "So wait, is walking under a ladder bad luck?" And they'll walk under a ladder and be like, "I don't think so," and I'm like, but what's happening? You're believing the one good thing that's going to bring luck to your life, but you're not
Right.
believing that there could be a repercussion in the opposite force way. Like it doesn't compute to me, because I'm like, if you believe in something, you have to believe in its opposite as well. I try and be an
Right.
open-minded as possible. I mean, it's as much as I can do just with podcasting with people and understanding people's had different experiences through life that's got them to this point. You know what I mean? For me, I'm not able to go back to a haunted house, at least the one in my area that's pretty popular, only on the concept of I told the guy not to touch me and he touched me and I freaked the hell out, punched him in the face. You know, it wasn't trying to be over dramatic. It was like
Right.
he was really screwing with me, like taking my
Mhm.
hat and throwing it and doing
Oh
things.
wow.
I'm like, bro, I'm not picking it up again. I'm telling you, I'm gonna
Mhm.
hit you. And I usually just warn people if I'm going in a haunted house. Like, I've had ex-girlfriends and friends that tell me, like, don't, like, "Oh, I'm not taking you to a haunted house again." I'm like, why? It's fun. And they're like, no, because you don't get scared. You just straight up tell people, like, I'm walking in here now. I'm going to punch you in the face if you jump out at me. And it's like, nobody wants to
What?
jump out at you. I'm like, I can't help it.
And here's the deal: if you know that you're going to have that reaction, why go?
I don't know.
Because that's not safe for you. That's not safe for the actors.
I still like enjoying people get scared. I try
Well,
not
then
to
you need to be
intentionally.
okay. Then what you need to do is become a scare actor.
No,
You need to go work in one and become a scare actor where you're doing the scaring.
that's true. That's a good concept. I might think.
Here, yeah,
Movies,
most
I don't get
haunts.
scared though. I don't get scared. I don't know what it is. Something like people say, I'm not scared of anything. You know what I'm scared of? I'm scared of a freaking bear. I'm scared of that
But
shit.
if nothing scares you in the haunt, why do you have that violent of a reaction to
It's the whole jump scare thing,
it? So it does scare you.
It's not that it scares me. Like
It startles you. That's semantics.
well, it's more
That's
like no. Well, it's really weird with me. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, but like I'll walk and like, I have people like my family tries to scare me all the time and they get really
uh-huh.
freaked out at how I don't get scared. Like I've I've gone to the movies, like a scary movie, Conjuring, all these types, whatever movies that people naturally get
Oh yeah.
scared in. And
Hmm.
I'm sitting there in the theater like, my God, this is so stupid. And I'll look over and it's like my 24-year-old brother and he's like freaking shirt up to the face like this, and then like my mom's beside him like they're like about to hold hands. I'm like, you guys fight all the fucking time and this is like the most I've ever seen you guys do.
Here's the thing. I consider myself doing a civic duty because getting scared is actually therapeutic. Going to a haunted attraction and being scared in a safe environment releases all kinds of endorphins and tension and everything else. That's why for haunters like me, hearing somebody scream and then immediately start laughing, that is my fucking crack.
Yeah, if they're screaming and crying, it's probably, and you're finding attraction to that, you might want to get a doctor to look at you mentally.
Yeah. But usually they're screaming and then they're laughing immediately afterwards because they're relieved. They're like, oh, that was funny. It's a safe environment. It's all the illusion of being injured or hurt or killed or whatever. Um, but you can tell because we have security cameras like most haunts do. And one of the things we watch is for people who are going in there intentionally wanting to punch somebody.
Oh, that's not
So,
me. I don't go in there like
you know,
freaking take the
yeah,
shirt off MMA style. I'm more like I'm walking and then some dude. I'm fine to a point. Like you can grab my arm, like that type of
hmm
stuff. Like I don't care about that. Like I walk by and like that type of thing. I'm cool with that. I don't get scared at that. I just go, oh hey, what's up, or something like that. But
yeah,
the ones I've went to, at least I don't know if it's just because the people know me and like I went to school with them or something. Usually it's they're around the
yeah.
same age as me. They like grab my shirt and they'll like tug me like that, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm
Yeah,
cool.
see, my haunt's a no touch haunt.
Yeah, I'm cool with that, But there's this. I watched this documentary on Netflix. It was about a group of people that there's
Oh God.
apparently this
Oh
haunt.
God.
There's this
Oh
haunt.
God.
What?
Don't say it. Don't
What?
say it.
What?
Don't fucking say it.
You know what
You're
I'm
gonna
talking
say
about?
McCamey Manor, aren't you?
I don't think so. It's that.
McCamey Manor, where you have to sign a release and you have to go through a psych eval before you go in there, and they punch you and make you eat your vomit and all that crap.
No, there's that one I was going to talk about, but there's
Yeah, because
actually
don't talk about that one.
there's
Oh my
another
gosh.
one you have to go to. You get a ticket. It's in New Orleans. It's given by a guy in a purple mask. It's like a secret type of haunt festival thing where they intentionally scare you, and not like intentionally, but I mean like they actually go out of their way to do some sick shit to you, and it's
Haunted hoochie.
you gotta watch this stuff because oh my god, at the ending
It's the haunted hoochie.
they put these people in like graves and stuff, and they filled it up. That's like okay, that's a little bit too far because some people there's been cases where there's been people that have been in a haunted house or thing and they have not been like viewed or profiled correctly. They just kind of got picked up off the street and they actually had something psychologically wrong with them, you know.
Um. Okay, so I'm gonna, since we're on that, of the extreme stuff. McCamey Manor is not a haunted attraction, and I wish people would quit saying that, because McCamey Manor and those real extreme things where they're tying you up and you come out and you're bloodied and everything else. Okay, there's a market for that. Obviously, some people are into that shit, but um, those are not haunted attractions. And I wish people would stop lumping them in with haunted attractions, because they are actually giving us a bad name,
Yeah.
because people get that perception of, oh, that's what haunted houses are now. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, people relate when it comes to like a scary movie or anything that brings fear is considered haunted or some type of like
Yeah.
attraction. I'm like, no, sometimes you need that release, you need that tension. Like you want to see your family member. Like I always get a kick out of it looking over and seeing like my mom and my brother who like fight all the time and bicker. We all bicker, but I'm like, I look over, I'm like, you guys are practically cuddling right now. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and I see that and I'm like, I understand it. Like they try so hard to scare me. I'll walk in the house like 2 o'clock in the morning and they'll like someone will be hiding around the corner. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, whatever. Like I don't if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Like someone's gonna come to my house and murder me, whatever, man. Just go for it, honestly. I'll try and
Well, I
podcast
have loved,
on the way out.
yeah, I have loved haunted houses since I was 10 years old when I went to my first one. I was probably 10 or 11. And I love it. And it's almost sad that whenever I go to a haunted house, whenever I go out, somewhere else and I go through a haunted attraction, I don't get scared, because now I'm in the mindset of, oh, that's cool placement of that, or what lighting did they use there? Oh, I like that actor. That was really cool. Or that costume, I'm going through it as an analytical, you know, state of mind instead of getting scared. So I kind of miss that. Um, but there's all kinds of sciences behind it and everything else. But it is therapeutic to get scared.
Yeah,
It
you need
helps
that
to
social
release.
release. Yeah, that
Right.
it's like a stress release. I had an experience when I was a kid. There's a baseball stadium. They do like a haunting type thing at. They make the whole field like this giant maze type thing. And I was a little
Uh-huh.
kid, and I was like, I don't want to go in there. I saw Chucky, saw all that stuff. You guys are sick. You had a Chucky doll in my room all that time, and I had no idea about this movie. And I ended up like tossing it out, like, all right, I don't love this thing anymore. And I had a bad experience because a dude had a prop of a chain and he went to whip it and he meant to hit beside me and he actually hit me. and I was
Oh
little
no.
at the time, so it actually really, really hurt. So I ended up sitting out, and I think what mainly gets me is the fact that I don't know, like, I know understand, like, people are joking and people are doing stuff like as an act, like to do that, but there's a point where it's like sometimes it can get out of hand depending on how far you get into the role. And dealing with psychology studies and stuff, and finding out a lot about like what makes people snap. I see more people snap on a basis now, like more people like out in the world, like they get upset, they take it out on the person beside them.
Hmm.
And I always trying to bring in a realization and be like trying to understand it from their point of view. They're probably going with something. People don't cope with stress well, so they tend to take it out when they get overwhelmed. And I things that really get me when it comes to being scared, the only time I would even call it being scared, it's just loud noises. Um, like when I go to a haunted
That
house
startle.
and some no, well, it's more like some dude has the chainsaw, like I hear it, but when I'm walking past him and it's so loud, I'm like trying to cover my ears. It's not that I'm
Right.
scared. It's like it's really, really hard on the ears. It's like when a
You're just
kid
annoyed.
yeah, it's like when a kid goes to the rock concert and he's got headphones in because he's such a little kid. His
Right.
ears are still sensitive. That's what
Hmm.
it's been like for me. Like some dude behind me with a chainsaw. I know the chainsaw doesn't have a blade on it, but it's like you're ripping it right in my ear, man. Like give it
Hmm.
a break, you know what I mean? And I've had people like clench my hand, you know, like try and walk me through a maze. I think the one I really got upset about was when I kept got like bumping into walls and shit because they had a strobe light at the end of the maze, and you had to walk through this maze for like 25 minutes and you couldn't see a thing where you were going every sec. It was like if you kept blinking your eyes, and
Hmm.
that whole like darkness, it was like that, like trying to like just try looking and then blinking every second, like just that whole thing. Like you couldn't
Right.
see where you were going. I kept bumping into walls and stuff to the point where I just stood still and I was like, turn the lights off, turn it on, please. I need to get out of here, on the concept of I think I'm about to have a seizure. Like the whole time I kept thinking that, like, there's someone out there behind me that could just randomly, like a little kid's walking in here. And
Right.
I'm like, that stuff has to be looked at too, very, very appropriately too.
Well, there is a lot of industry movement to make haunts as safe as possible. Because I mean, face it, if somebody goes to a haunt and they have a really bad experience, they're probably not going to go to another one, and they're going to make sure everyone knows what a crappy haunt it was and
Yeah,
stuff.
you never write a
But
good review on anything. It's always,
but if we yeah, but if you go to a good haunt and you have a great time, usually you're like, that was awesome, let's go to another one.
yeah,
We have in my area where I live, we have several haunted attractions, really great ones. And we work together, we cross promote each other's haunts. We all are friends and everything. And we promote like, hey, if you enjoyed this one, here's some others that you can go see this weekend if you want to. And a lot of people do. They make like a whole weekend out of it, and they will go and see all the haunts in the area. But we make sure, that everyone is safe. We do safety training with our actors. We do character development to make sure that whatever they're doing is fits the theme, fits their character, is safe, you know, and a good effective scare. Because we don't want to have to call an ambulance or anyone. We don't want the fire department to come and shut us down because we, have things unsafe. Um, so, the for the most part, haunts try to be safe. They try to keep a really good show going without harming anybody. And if anybody has a bad experience, you need to talk to the owner about it and see, what's going on.
yeah. I think a lot of like you're trying to rationalize and you're trying to open up people to enjoying haunted houses, and that's
Right.
something people should experience. It's definitely something that's, I've been at a campground at Halloween. Halloween's one of my favorite times, only
Uh-huh.
on the concept of, first of all, trick or treating. My little cousin, well, actually, my little nephew, I should say, uh, I bought a costume for him, and
Uh-huh.
this was months ago before, Halloween's even close, and I'm like, he's gonna be an egg, and I'm going to be a chicken, and only on
Oh,
the
that's
concept
awesome.
of he has a leash that I'm gonna put on him, and he's gonna run around with this suit that has no armholes, just flippers, and I'm like, it's gonna be awesome because first of all, I'm gonna get chicks, and if I don't get chicks, yeah, that's a chicken reference. But no, if I don't get chicks, I'm gonna be able to get candy out of it. Like that's what I see. Like I talk to some people who are parents, like my friend's parents. He goes, "Dude, you know the best part about being a dad is?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, man. Like you have a little you, man. It's pretty awesome." And he goes, "No, man, Halloween, bro. It's time to
That's
trick or
awesome.
treat." I'm like, "You're fucking 26 years old and you're still trick or treating?" And they're like, "Dude, my kid just runs up there and it's like having a dog do shit for you."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's terrible. He goes, "Man, you got to take your ins and your outs, man. I have to clean his diapers. He goes and gets me candy on Halloween, and I mean, some of my moments as a kid, I come home with a trash bag filled with candy, and the next thing I know, my parents were like, "We need to pull out all the poison candy." And then
Yeah.
recently, like not even a couple months ago, I figured out that that's all fake.
Oh, of course.
There's only been
Yeah.
2 reported
Reese's
cases.
Reese's peanut butter cups were definitely poisoned when my kids were little. They all had razor blades and needles in them, and so they were not allowed Reese's peanut.
I always wondered, I was like, why am I stuck with all the old people candy in my bag? And they're like, "Oh, I'll buy you more." I never got any. I never got any more. I'm like, but now that's funny because that old people candy, the Juji fruits, the gumdrops, that type of stuff, that's stuff I enjoy. Only on the concept of my grandfather used to take me to movie theaters. And after like before the previews were even over with, I was done with my box of snow caps. Like I was done. I was like, dang, I just wasted my movie treat. I have nothing for the
Right.
rest of this movie. And he told me, next time get the Swedish fish. I'm like, why? Yo, afterwards, I only went through a quarter of the box, the whole movie. That box lasted me like 3 days. I was picking those suckers out of my teeth, yo. He was like telling me, he was like, right? He goes, "It's a treat that literally lasts all night." I'm like, it does, man. It does.
How I want to ask you because you're a younger generation. You're actually in my demographics. You know.
Targeting me.
Yes, I am. But how do you feel about? Have you heard about the petition to move Halloween to the last Saturday of October?
No, it's 31st.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's always been 31st. I don't why would you change it to the last Saturday? Because people are off work. Well, some people work weekends, so it's like
Here's the deal. Apparently, this came about because a bunch of parents were like, we work during the week. So if Halloween is like on a Thursday, like it is this year, then it makes it difficult for us to take our kids trick or treating and blah, blah, blah. But yes, I think no matter what, it's always going to be the 31st. You can't move Christmas to the last Saturday of December. You know, it's not, it's not something out of convenience. It's the day is the day is the day.
look, I'm a big fan of Fear Fest when it comes on AMC. I'm
Oh yeah.
100% for that. Some of the movies, I'm like, all right, let's give a rest. Okay, you don't need to make Michael Myers 9. I don't care if you go back in time and it's supposed to be a spinoff of the first one. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
What I like about it, I've watched Jaws in a pool on a projection screen at night on Halloween. Yes, I'm that insane. Um, and I tell you, I freaked out. I thought I'm sitting in this pool, no lights, no lights on outside, just a projection screen. You start hearing dun 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 dun. You're sitting there like, I need to get out of the water. What am I doing? I've made bad life decisions. I need to
I
think
would have
back.
hired someone and put him in a scuba suit
Just
to
come on.
swim underneath everybody and reach up.
You're sick. You are
Yes,
sick.
thank you.
Those are
Thank
the
you.
those are the best people for haunted houses, man. Because nowadays you don't see any good ones anymore. They're all really, really, really cheesy. At least
Well,
in my area, they became such mainstream. We're like, come ride the haunted attraction. I'm like, bruh, it's July. I'm not even close to that time of theme where I want to be scared at all, or I want to even get in that mindset. The best part about October and having Halloween set out for that time is the whole concept of it's in the weather, it's in the air. You know what I mean?
yes,
It's this
yes,
brisk vibe. It's not exactly winter, but it's not exactly summer either. It's this
right.
type where the leaves are changing. They're all starting to turn from their greens to their oranges and browns. The most beautiful
Hmm.
time, I think. And
Oh, me too.
the whole concept of Halloween was on the basis of a religious story, like the concept of, you can talk about like spirits coming to your house if you didn't have a pumpkin set out to warn them to stay off your property, or you talk up to the old Irish folklore of a guy named Saint Patrick, or not, yeah, it was Saint.
Samhain.
What's his name?
Some people call it Samhain, but it's actually pronounced Samhain.
Well, yeah, that guy that ran the devil up the tree and carved that thing in there, and he told him this, whatever, and made him haunt or did some type of stuff. Like you hear those types of stories. That's the stuff I find interest in, like the mystery behind the theme. The mystery behind the horror. A lot of people they chalk up Scooby Doo, like, oh, it always shows it's always a person under the mask. I'm like, it's cool though. Like you see I haven't seen any really, really good scary movies anymore that don't focus on the same concept nowadays. It's hard to find an original.
Netflix actually they posted something on Facebook recently about they've come to the conclusion that there are so many scary movies on Netflix that are not watched all the way through. It's because they're too scary and people can't finish them. And I'm like, no, it's because they're shit. They I get into it about 30 minutes and I'm like, this isn't scary, this is crap, and I shut it off.
Yeah, I think it's the whole concept of everything's based around jump scares now. There's a really, really fascinating game called Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a computer game, but it's like the computer game Slender Man. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have, yeah.
Where you're supposed to collect pages, and each page just be some guy that comes out of the woods and just chases you. It's all in the concept that they play really loud noises and really kind of like you turn around, bam, it's right there in front of you. Like, oh God, nothing like it creates the mystery of getting scared. Like, when is it going to happen? That ever knowing, like, it's going to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I liked ones that created a good story behind it.
Okay, so let me tell you this. I have no zombies in my haunted attraction. I have no chainsaws in my haunted attraction. I have no clowns in my haunted attraction. And that's what's in 90% of haunted attractions, right? That's because Banshee Manor is very story driven. I have a whole backstory. It's very themed. And so basically, whenever you're going through Banshee Manor, you are going through an entire story. You are meeting these characters, and you learn about this at the first. So you're kind of prepared for what's going on. And then as you go through the haunted attraction, you're encountering all of this.
I give you credit for that because it takes a lot. Like a lot of people, when it comes to horror literature, people that find books like reading fascination about it. I'm like, you create an experience that puts someone in the story. It changes their whole thinking and feeling that they get towards it. A lot of times nowadays, haunted houses and things, they just shovel the same mainstream stuff in your face, like, oh, zombies is Halloween. No, zombies is about it's Netflix now. It's about The Walking Dead. It's the same concept over and over and over again, and to the point where no one watches it anymore. You have to make it inventive in your own way. You have to craft it your own to make it truly something that somebody remembers.
Like I said, so I live in Arkansas. And in the state of Arkansas, we have registered about 32 haunted attractions. Out of those 32, 7 of the top 10 are in Northwest Arkansas, where I live. So whenever I became a professional haunt and everything, I needed something that was different. I needed something that was not offered anywhere else. And that's how I came up with the concept of Banshee Manor and the backstory and everything. Because I'm not the biggest haunt. I have, smaller area than everyone else, size-wise. So I had to offer them something that they couldn't get anywhere else. And this will be our 4th year as a professional. And it's growing by leaps and bounds every year. And I love that. And there's people who will say, no, you're not the scariest haunt, but it was so awesome. It was fun. It was different.
It's a way for the family to connect. That's how memories are born. You know, some of the best moments of my life were trick-or-treating with my family. Just, you know, even though they were just sitting around kind of collecting the candy and stuff, but it was like me going up to the house, you know, trick or
Mhm.
treat. That was a connection, you know, that taught you how to talk to people, that taught you how to like use your manners. You say please and thank you. You say these
Mhm.
types of things when you get something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Someone's, and I like doing that too. I like sitting out. Like we're not allowed to do trick or treating in our neighborhood, at least the community I'm in. You're not allowed to do it in this area. Just because there's a lot of older people that don't really like kids walking up to their house, you know.
Oh, good grief.
So we have to go somewhere else. But I'm like sitting on a doorstep, handing out candy to kids, you know, and then like being a kid myself and knowing what that was like, you hope that you got like the best treats possible. And we
Right.
all knew the houses to hit. We knew which ones left the candy bowl out there and told you to take one. And you were like, dump that bowl in there. And you know, it was always cool because you knew the houses to stay away from that would give you like floss or something. But it was like it's interesting because nowadays I look back at that and I'm like, I should have went up to those houses a little bit more too, because like sitting on a doorstep and just being able to kind of like people come up, be like, nice costume, man, and be like kind of give them like a compliment. It's a big ego boost for the kid too. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like sometimes a
Right.
kid that's bullied might only feel like the only time he can ever truly feel comfortable is when he's wearing a costume or something. And I try and
That's
relate that
exactly
to that
true.
experience. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I have buddies of mine that are my age that are like, what are you talking about, dude? That kid's a loser. I'm like, no, man. He's going through some stuff, and this is one day he can truly feel free right now. You know, it's the people that dress up to Comic-Con and stuff, and they're
Mhm.
around like-minded individuals, you know.
Right.
They're not weird. They have something they're truly inspired and want to do and want to be like, and they choose to model themselves after that. So why am I going to judge them on the basis of that?
I have seen, I mean, I've got actors who are very quiet and hardly say anything to anybody because they're very introvert. But once you get them in costume and makeup and you put them, you know, in their scene and they totally become another person. And to them, it's very liberating. It's very freeing because they suddenly feel like they can let emotions and frustrations and it's okay if you scream at people and it's okay if you say you're ugly, I'm going to kill you, you know, because it's totally acceptable in a haunted attraction. And
If someone screamed that
you
at me,
know,
I'd be like, I know I am. Just do it.
I had, you know, an actor, I was speaking with him today and he said something about, you know, I know I'm kind of a weirdo, and I was like, that's okay, I love weirdos.
Yeah.
I
It's
I'll
sometimes
take a weirdo any day, you know.
I'll take a weird person over a dishonest person any day. You know what I mean? And it
Oh yeah.
seems like what the norm is nowadays. There's not really any weird, interesting people anymore. It's all, you know, we're all just playing a cover. We're all wearing a mask, but that mask is to
Mhm.
act like Jim that works the 9 to 5. And
Right.
that's why I started this podcast. Like we all every single one of us has something unique about us that we feel like nobody is going to find interesting. And I'm telling you, there's someone out there like me. There's someone out there like you. There's someone out there with anybody out there through all the podcasts I've done and through the ones I still have to do.
Mhm.
And that's not even saying have to do, is want to do. We all have something out there that someone's going to read and be like, that sounds interesting. And they're going to listen to it and be like, wow, that person has a really, it's going to help them discover things about themselves. And I'm like, if I can do that, whether I lose sleep over it or not, I'm going to try and get as many as I possibly can and have these wonderful conversations with these interesting people, because all I'm doing is expanding my knowledge.
Yeah. Well, you know, okay, I'll tell you, you know, I'm 54 years old. I have two grown children, two granddaughters. Got divorced a little over 2 years ago. And I mean, basically I was working on the haunt, but that was about it, you know, and had just gone pro whenever I got divorced. But I had had all these dreams when I was a kid of I loved haunted houses. I thought it'd be cool to work or own in a haunted house. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a singer. And then whenever you grow up and you get married and you have kids, all of that just kind of gets set aside. And basically, I feel like now at 54, I'm living my dream. I am a published writer because I have an audio drama that I created and co-wrote. I'm an actor because I acted in that. I acted in The Haunt. I also act for a local mystery theater improv group. I own my own business, and it's a pretty awesome business, being a haunted attraction. Um, and I've had people say, "You're not a typical 54-year-old woman." No, I'm not. Thank you very much, because I don't want to. The thought of spending the rest of the next 20 or 25 years, however many years I've got left, of knitting booties and petting, petting a cat, and making casseroles, just
Yeah.
no, thank you.
It's
Um, I'm playing with people who are your age, in their 20s, in their 30s, and we get along and we have a great time and we have great respect, and they're keeping me young,
yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. So, if I say anything in this podcast that anybody can take somewhere and do something with, is don't give up on your dreams. You may have to alter that dream, because I'm not on Broadway. I don't have a record deal with Nashville. I'm not getting an Oscar, but I'm acting, I'm singing, I'm writing, I'm doing my dream, just on a different scale. So don't give up on your dream. Just scale it to how you can still do it.
And
Does that
that's
make sense?
it does 100%. To each is their own. And I think as long as you're truly not hurting anybody, you should do whatever you want to do and whatever you feel like is meant for you. Because you're different than anybody. And you can't take anybody else's advice. You can only take your
Right.
own. They can help you and maybe point you in the direction, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to do what you feel like is right in your heart. You know what I mean? Truly be who you're meant to be. I want to
Right.
give you here a minute at the end to kind of plug your podcast and also plug your stuff where people can find you at and be able to look up your awesome content.
Okay. Well, if you're in the Northwest Arkansas area, the haunted house is Banshee Manor Haunted Attraction. But mostly go check out the audio drama. It is Buying Ghost audio drama. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere where you can find podcasts. That's where it is. Or you can go to bansheemanor.com, and we have a link to it on there. It's a fun story. It's a limited episode. We're in episode 8. There's only 10 episodes, so it's a limited story, and it's a lot of fun. And it's all local actors. All of the actors, with the exception of 2, are actual actors in my haunted attraction. But it's like listening to a little movie in your mind, and it's a lot of fun. And I hope you guys will check it out and share some comments. We've got a Facebook page called Buying Ghost Audio Drama, and then also the wherever you listen, you can leave comments and reviews and stuff, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for being on this episode of Out of the Blank
Thank you.
podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.